Aghanya is with us, and she has written a book called Principles for Overcoming Communication Anxiety and Improving Trust, Simple Tips to Developing a Productive Clinician-Patient Relationship. This, my friends, is a game changer. Even the people around her knew it, and that's part of the reason why she wrote it. In our off-air conversations, it was so crystal clear to me. I can't wait to introduce you. So without further ado, she's in our virtual green room here in our Author's Corner. Nonye, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to share my journey with your audience.
So let's talk about that journey. First of all, I sort of set that up. What was it that made you decide to write this book?
Well, I decided to write this book because in recent times, there just seems to be that more people are experiencing anxieties, and there is more mistrust in so many various settings. Many people seem to be resorting to social media and electronic forms of communication like texting or email or Snapchat. And there just seems to be less face-to-face conversations taking place. And even for some people, just a simple act of phone conversations will elicit anxiety for them. And I pretty much wrote this book. This was actually a book that I wrote to deal with anxiety and to deal with, communications and the best way we can improve relationships. And my first book, the one titled Simple Tips to Developing a Productive Clinician-Patient Relationship, actually dealt with this similar topic, but it was targeted to the healthcare settings. In that book, I talked about how healthcare providers and patients can improve trust with one another and build a better clinical relationship through effective interaction. Because myself, I'm a clinician, and I've maintained contact with patients for close to 30 years. And in all these years of practice, I've actually observed, how various human emotions can impact communication, either negatively or positively. And in that first book, I discussed how we can implement various communication styles to just, create a tranquil environment, reduce anxiety, and improve the chance of trust development. In that book, I talked about how communication styles like knowing the most appropriate time to nod in affirmation when someone else is speaking, when to maintain or temporarily avoid eye contact, to give someone a chance, to get their train of thoughts together, when to speak softly or when to speak authoritatively, when to listen more and to speak less, or even when to use humor, as a means to just create tranquility in an environment and improve the chances of interaction taking place in a more genuine fashion. And so that was the first book released in 2016. And after this book was released, Kate, I got a lot of positive reviews on it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to write another book, this current one now, that is Principles for Overcoming Communication Anxiety and Improving Trust, targeted towards the general audience now. And in this book, of course, I talked about how we can overcome communication anxiety and communication challenges and genuinely connect based on biblical principles. So that was why I decided to write the second book.
Yeah, so let's make sure we're clear on that to not confuse people. Mm-hmm. You're right. Principles for Overcoming Communication Anxiety and Improving Trust. You can get that on Amazon.com. And I love what you said. Who does not want tranquility? But I think it's really tough, Nonye, to achieve that because of, you mentioned it, the electronics, etc. So give us a couple of quick tips that the listeners can grab onto before they get your book.
Absolutely. Actually, I wanted to just make a quick correction on that. The one you said, Principles for Overcoming Communication Anxiety and Improving Trust, it's not on Amazon yet. It's the first one, which is Simple Tips to Developing a Productive Clinician-Patient Relationship, is on Amazon. This more current one is going to be on the website improvetrust.com as that site is finally developed. And the tips that I will give to the audience, it's really what I learned in the process, because this process has been very cathartic to me. Myself being someone who suffers from anxiety, I just realized that as I wrote this book, I realized that we're all humans. And, we have different backgrounds, different walks of life. We have different ideologies, but we all have the same wishes. We wish to love and be loved. All humans wish to be respected. All humans wish for their opinions to count in the development of any society. And personally, being a Christian, I learned that applying my biblical values and the principles that I grew up with have helped me a great deal in relating to pretty much everyone I've come across on or off the clinical environment. But one more thing that was, apparent to me is that humans are all inherently plagued by human deficiencies due to the original sin of Adam and Eve. But when we take the time to have compassion for one another's faults and deficiencies, and we strive with a clear conscience, to engage with others, we create a better chance of genuinely developing a trusting relationship. And this is across all settings, be it law enforcement or educational, healthcare, hospitality settings, because we really cannot control another person's emotions or another person's opinions or actions. We just can't. But one thing we can control is how we engage to promote tranquility. And that's the only way we can actually improve the chances of a better connectivity, and that's engaging with compassion and with a clear conscience.
Oh, I love that. So again, I'm going to mention this when it's up and running, and we'll say this lots of times. And by the time some of you hear this, it will be up, because we'll definitely air this a few times. ImprovingTrust.com. Principles.
So I'm sorry, that website will be www.improvetrustnow.com.
ImproveTrustNow.com. So we got that right. ImproveTrustNow.com. And the book is Principles for Overcoming Communication, Anxiety, and Improving Trust. And you really understand it because you dealt with it. How was it to deal with anxiety for you? You have a family. You have a I'll call it a high-powered career where you're helping people. How tough was that for you?
Well, I just know that I needed to start writing things down, and the more I wrote, the more I just felt like I was releasing everything that was locked within me. And then the more I studied the Word of God, I just found there were a lot of biblical passages that pretty much talk about the same things that we all face today. So it's very important if we just remember just a lot of the biblical passages that gives us that affirmation that we have peace. In the book of John 14:27, the Lord tells us, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give you as the world gives. So don't let your heart be troubled and don't be afraid." And that to me is the peace that passes all human understanding. So just knowing that just reassures my soul, and so many other verses in the Bible for which this book was written, just based on these biblical principles, just helped me to just get that peace within me and then reach out and extend that with a genuine heart and a clear conscience as I connect with others of diverse ideologies and backgrounds. And that it really clicks. It really does work.
Yeah, I like that it really, really clicks, and peace be with you. I love what you had to say there. What is the hope? What is the hope for you, Nonye, for people who read this book?
Well, one thing I hope is that, people should know that in spite of the difficult times that we currently seem to find ourselves in, that there is hope. There is hope. Every day you turn on the television and there's one breaking news or another just signaling how the form of disagreement is just escalating in recent times. But we are all on a journey of life, and each person, I really believe, should look within themselves and just ask myself, what is my purpose on this journey? How can I contribute to a better humanity? Because one thing I believe really is that the general purpose for all of our existence, regardless of diverse backgrounds, is to live a life to uplift other people. Because that's when we find true tranquility in our own lives, when we uplift others to the glory of God, and to improve humanity so we can have a better existence for future generations. And so many of the principles of achieving this are found in the Word of God. They're found in the Bible. So I apply all this in dealing with the various emotions that I come across. First in healthcare. It started first for me in healthcare. And I find that patients are really more at ease in my presence. And patients' anxieties are more reduced in my presence. And I'm like, okay, now I have something here. I really have to write it and target it towards the general population. And that's the goal I do have. I hope that people will take away from reading this book, that it is possible to engage genuinely with others.
Ah, that's a perfect place to end this. Nonye Aghanya, again, the best success with this book. Pick this book up, and we're going to definitely be talking about this book for months to come. But Principles for Overcoming Communication, Anxiety, and Improving Trust. Thank you so much.